Of course, most of you know who I am. I'm Melissa Fields. I am the director of the Prevention Coalition, and I am I don't know what they call me, the coordinator of CATS or something. So we have a group chat, and we kind of toss ideas back and forth about what we could do. And this was one of the things that came across my page from somebody else, so I stole somebody else's idea. But it was just kind of wanting to know what kids think about what's going on in their community, whether it's their school system, whether it's their, just the community in general, what they'd like to see in the community, what they'd like to see at their school system. So I asked them if they wanted to do it, and everybody said it was a great idea. This is what I got. But I realized there's other things going on in sports and things like that. So I put together some topics for them to speak on. They chose their topic. What I did want to make clear to them was this is not a time for you to get up and bash people, whether it's an organization, whether it's people in the school, teachers, the athletic association, anything like that. And if you did have a complaint, to have some kind of solution. Because we all know there's a whole lot of complainers out there and nobody ever comes up with a solution. So I asked them to come up with a solution to whatever they're talking about, and I'm just going to let them talk. And since there's only 3, we started out with 7. Since there's only 3 that were able to make it, I'm going to let them present what they wanted to present on, and then I'm going to kind of go through the rest of the topics that they were able to choose from and get some more, feedback for that, because there's questions on there about school, there's questions on there about the county in general. So we invited specifically a lot of the, elected officials, school board members, and teachers, because that's who they're talking to. So, thank you, Alex. Alex Bird is here, and then we do have some officials from the Athletic Association, some teachers. We've got Sydney and Miss Wooten up here, which are important people in the school system. So we'll let them talk, and then we'll just have a conversation. And if you, after a while, if anybody has any questions or any comments, then we can definitely have that conversation, because since there's only 3 of them, we're not going to take up as much of your time. Okay? Sound good? Billy's going first. Introduce yourself, ma'am.
Hi, I'm Billy White, and I chose the topic of our lack of engagement in schools. Now, some of these factors that lead to it is inactiveness or disinterest in the class activities. Students are avoiding class or just plainly out skipping. Now, why might these behaviors be sticking out more prevalent than it has in previous years? I think one factor could be repetitive content. Students may feel disengaged when the content they are learning is too familiar or repetitive. This can also lead to boredom and apathy. Avoiding repetition content altogether is not the solution. It just gets annoying to some students, or they find it aggravating or uninteresting. And I'm sure that many can relate by the 4th or 5th time you've asked your child or whatever to clean their room, do the dishes. I'm sure it gets annoying. You're tired of repeating the same thing over and over and over again. And I feel like that's the same problem that a lot of students are feeling, because we are just going and doing the same thing over and over and over again, and we're not making a real life connection to what's going on. Like, they don't see how it's going to relate to them in the real world. And I think a solution for this, we could relate the material to real world events, which engage us more, and the correlation between what we are learning and what we are referencing clicks better, which can also lead to my next one, is there's no relevance to what we're learning to the real world situations. Now, that's not saying that what we are learning isn't important. There is connections. It's just that students in the classroom are not able to make it because of it feels way too standardized. And I feel like that we may not want to learn something in math class because, like, when are we ever going to use algebra, is what someone might say. But I think we could, for example, for algebra, for a solution, we could relate it to taxes. We can use the Tennessee state tax and make a grocery list. Solve the tax, and then we do one if we were in Kentucky. and then compare them, and you can maybe make a better connection of like, okay, that's how that works, that's what X would be for, and Y would be this. I think that would be a better solution for implementing more real world situations to connect it to. And then I got the lack of meaningful feedback. I feel like as a student, we are not getting enough feedback on certain projects. Like I know, for example, we may write an essay and our teachers will say, all right, I'll look at it later. Never get feedback from it. I know in my English class that we have to submit it through to Miss Lexi or someone else or Miss Waters, and they'll run it through an AI generator and it says, okay, you can do this now. I think that's really helpful to see where we might need to improve on. I find that really engaging. And I know another teacher that I find really engaging for similar situations is Miss Tabor. She has a ticket system implemented, which I know sounds childish for high school, but it truly did work. And she has said herself, she just needs to bring new things into the classroom. Like I know that her Spanish 2 class just made a school supplies list, but they just had to use the words they knew to translate it into an actual school supplies list. And then they would put all the prices on there and then they would present it. And she had a 98% efficient rate, and only one person didn't do it because they were just out. But I found that really helpful, and I think that could go a long way whenever we are trying to get more kids engaged. And that's all I have on that one.
Good, thank you. I mean, that's really good in the engagement sometimes, because most people know I have a little bit of ADHD, so I want to be doing something sometimes, so it sounds like that's something that would be one of your solutions, is like just more active. Okay, yeah, great. Addie, that's great.
You said you're close like that.
All
Alright.
Introduce yourself, Matt.
Alright. Hey! How's it going? Good evening. My name is Abigail Anoski, and I'm a senior this year at Stewart County High School. Oh man. Boy, am I excited. Alright. First, sorry, I will speak here. First, I'd like to thank the CATS team for hosting this event. It's a super great opportunity. Very much appreciated. I'd like to thank everybody here for your attendance tonight. It's been a long Thursday, and I'm sure this is exactly what everybody is looking forward to today. Thank you to Gray for going first. That is always my worst nightmare. All right, I'm going to attempt to make this kind of short because I am also getting hungry. I'd also like to present what I think has been an ongoing problem for a while. This involves administration, teachers, and students. I'd like to talk about getting more mental health support for teachers, which will in turn make classes much easier on students and lead to less problems with administration. I understand this is a problem that is not easy and doesn't have a quick solution. It also depends on the person, but I also believe I can provide some helpful recommendations and possible solutions. Being a teacher is hard, I understand that, but the aggressiveness from stress gets unloaded onto the students often. This stressor turns into group punishment, extra work, and sometimes even tears from either party. When investigating for a solution, I went to do some research to find out if there is any support for teachers, and I was given a very positive response. Based on some independent studies I conducted, I was told that there's been much more support for the teachers' well-being and that the administration had tried to do things to, metaphorically, rub the staff's shoulders. This includes beginning of the year meetings, preaching that if there was a problem, to please go and speak their minds to admin, potlucks, committees, and all kinds of other social gatherings. I thought this was great, and I'm glad the school is trying to do better. However, there can still be some more work done. When doing a little more research, I learned that teachers do have the opportunity to seek mental health support, but through an outside source, which not a lot of teachers do have time for. I also realized that potlucks and social events only really cover the surface. In more school-centered matters, their workloads are spread across so thin that teachers who aren't necessarily engaged in certain fields are pushed into doing and learning extra work outside of their credentials. All of these contribute to stress, which the students do realize and even hear about sometimes. This brings us to my possible solutions. I propose that workload to be spaced out better, or the appropriate people are hired for extra positions that need to be filled. This solves the workload issue. Some of those jobs, like photography for yearbook, maybe some extra art stuff, a prom, like I guess more prom-centered people who like event coordinators, because I know that I had to spray paint plungers last year for prom, so cool plungers. And then another suggestion is more teacher work opportunities. This can be during the school day or a day before break to catch up on assignments and missing work. My last proposal is better counseling awareness for teachers. If this opportunity is provided, more teachers might speak out about their issues and end up being calmer around the classes with better ideas on asking for better behavior from the students. And I understand it is a two-way issue, students and teachers, collaboration. Hopefully, these would be beneficial in reducing stress in teachers, which would strengthen the relationship between the teacher, student, and administration and lessen the tension. This might also stop unnecessary punishment and focus on bettering the social and educational aspects of the students and teachers. I'd like to thank you all again for your time, and I really hope I was able to provide some insight. This was an amazing opportunity, once again, and maybe we'll see more people next year. Go team.
Hi, my name is Deja Lancaster. I'm also a senior. I'm your president of your CADS team. And today I will be talking on one specific topic, but it also applies into two different topics. So we'll be talking about peer pressure, substance use, and your sports teams. So peer pressure, which is a common issue amongst your high schoolers, middle schoolers, even your elementary schoolers, which most people don't think about, but those starting young lead up to order. The definition of pressure is the use of persuasion, influence, or intimidation to make someone do something. Our children at the elementary school, this was something that me, Miss Melissa did, and a few of the other CAT members who went to elementary school. We asked how many students have used substance usage. Almost all students raised their hands. These were third graders, fifth graders, not even in middle school yet. Another problem with our peer pressure is within our sports. Your highly trained athletes who play their sport well, get great grades, show leadership, are sometimes your most pressuring students. As someone myself who has played 3 sports, I see this every year that I've played. Through middle school, through high school, this is still a common problem within the school system and with peer pressure. The athletes look great, super smart, and treated as very mature individuals, but behind their good faces and their performances are actual bullies who peer pressure their students. Some resolutions I have is a presentation on peer pressure. We did a Narcan presentation, and many students, I think personally, I've heard many people talk about it, they took everything away from that. And that was specifically because it was a student-led presentation with an adult there who did not go to the school. We also did driving presentations where we allowed the students to drive drunk with goggles. We allowed them to drunk drive.
Let's clarify.
They did not drink. It was drunk driving goggles, and they drove a small little bicycle vehicle and showed them really how difficult it would be to drunk drive and why they shouldn't be drunk driving and how many people have hit cones and all that. That could be somebody's life and not a cone. And when we do presentations like that, it really affects students and everything like that. I also propose that we should have a website other than the Stop It app. Stop It app, great for bullying, great for everything like that, but I know many kids feel weird to have that on their phone. Personally, in my opinion, I know a lot of people think of it as just a joke. I proposed a website to allow students to get advice on how to get out of peer pressure, rather than anonymously sending in information about somebody peer pressuring, but getting advice and feedback on how to get out of peer pressuring, because I know there's many people who suffer from it, but they can't get out of it. And that's what I propose for peer pressuring, sports, and drugs.
Good, thank you. Before I ask more questions, what they had to choose from was what supports or barriers are in place at your school So they could choose to talk about supports or barriers, or both. What pressures do you feel about grades or sports? Do you have any feedback for your teachers, school administration, or your school board members? And what would you like to see more or less of in the county? So we're just gonna have conversation. You know, if somebody wants to chime in, that's fine with me. But let's start. What are some of the supports in your school? So we don't want to complain. And I really did like all of your solutions. They were good. They were great solutions. We wrote them down. But what are some of the supports that you have already in place that you encourage either more of, or that it would be something that you would encourage other students to use that support? So let's start with Asia.
Okay. I would encourage students to use more of our teachers as resources to go for. I know many kids are like, they don't want to talk to them, but personally myself, able to talk to like a coach really helps a student get through peer pressuring. And all of our coaches that coach at the high school or even some at the middle school, they're also your teachers. And just for all students, I feel they should be able to go to the teachers, and that might be on the teacher to try and make the students more comfortable. But I believe that that's a good resource that we have that we should use more.
Billy?
To build a little bit off what David said, I've done main teachers. I think teachers should make themselves a little bit more approachable. I agree that some really are. I know, for example, Ms. Blanc, Ms. Taylor, Mr. Bucciarelli from middle school, they were really bonded with kids, I think. They were treating us like, students, and they were just really nice to us, and I feel like we bonded more with them specifically. And I'm not sure if anyone else can relate, but for a solution with peer pressure, if it gets like really overwhelming, I know some students have 504 plans or IEPs, but they don't realize what that entails or what that provides. I know, for example, with one of my plan, I am able to leave the classroom if it gets too rowdy or we're just having a work session. I'm allowed to leave the classroom and go to the office and sit down and work just in a calm, peaceful environment. And I believe that has helped tremendously, just for me alone, and I know it has helped a lot of others as well. And that's what I have on that specific one. Abby?
For School of Improv, yes, and. Thank you. So, I guess, because we do have the guidance department, which is great, love it, always hear it, but it is, I actually had to figure out who it was. I didn't know who ran the guidance department, and I was a little oh geez on that for a minute, but I'm glad I know who it is now. But it's more like verbal confirmation of all this kind of stuff, because bathroom signs are great, love seeing motivational messages, phone numbers, everything in there, but when it comes, you have to find all this out essentially, and I think we could be told more often as students, staff, everybody, that there are resources at the school specifically designed to cater to your needs as well. So I think just more access to already available information would be great, because I didn't know about any of this. Been back for 2 years now, so it's taken a minute.
Okay, good. Each one of you already kind of talked about, not all barriers, but what are some barriers that are in place at your school that you feel like is something that you either see others having a problem jumping over that hurdle, or you yourself have an issue jumping over that hurdle? Is there anything that kind of stands out to you that is like, hey, we need to soften that, we need to lessen that? What can we do? So let's go that way.
Ooh. Let me think about this for a second. I've had time to think about it before. So it was, what's something that's overwhelming right now?
Well, actually, I think that your last example was kind of a barrier that is in place where you say that you don't know who you're supposed to go to. who the guidance counselor is or anything like that. So that's kind of a barrier already that you spoke about. So is there anything else that you would add to that?
Communication here just needs to be a lot more on all ends of the spectrum. It is just so thin here, and like I think like even tonight we would have had much better turnout if even the school communicated about this more. Because I had asked people, hey, going to this tonight? What's going on tonight? And same thing, like, hey, what's going on with school on Monday? Hey, you know, like 2-hour delay. How far does it travel? Like literally 9:45 or 9 a.m. You know, like just like simple stuff like that that really can turn into a problem for a lot of people. Like but that's just I'm just being ridiculous.
Well, and I have to say that it's my fault that the school didn't come up with it, talk about this very much, because I didn't send it to them. So that's on me.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Thanks for pointing that out. It's all my
No,
fault. It's all my fault. All right, Billy, what do you got? What do you think?
To build off a little bit what Abby said, just not having very much access to the information. It's there, but you gotta like scrounge around for it. Like you're in a filing cabinet, you gotta dive in, find what you're trying to seek. And I think that's a problem with a lot of other students. I know that whenever I was a freshman, first 2 years, I could not do a presentation at all. I would freeze on the spot and just kind of turn around. I could not do it. But I think what helped me like get out of my shell was just some teachers gave me a pat on the back. I'm like, it's okay. And helped me or guided me to where I needed to be and helped me build that confidence up and gave me more resources or helped me engage more with different learning techniques or different ways to do certain things. And I think that like really sparked something else, and I think that's one way that we could maybe lessen the barrier a little bit, like put a pillow over it. Deja?
Great point. So I'm gonna go the completely opposite way.
All right.
I think a big barrier is substance use.
That too.
I walk into the bathroom and there's kids puffing it up in the bathrooms, and it's really not cool. They think it is. A lot of kids think that it's really cool to vape, smoke weed, pot, all of that. I think it's really cool. And personally, in my opinion, nothing's being done about it. I've heard many people state, oh, there's vape detectors in the boys' bathroom. Well, we also have a female's bathroom, and trust me, there are many females in there that go in there and vape.
I walked into like 12 girls, all just crowded up here and passed one. I was like, all right, time to take my leave.
And a big issue that like is a big barrier between this is when our school finds out, they really don't do anything about it. They either take it and they take it like a phone. They take it away and give it back. And that's not okay. Or they don't take it at all and tell them not to do it again. This is a huge problem because we're minors, not even of age to have one, let alone how they're getting them. That should also be stopped. It's kind of out of school's reach, but we should be preventing that. And the only thing that we've done to prevent that is put up do not enter signs on the bathroom. And obviously that affects people using the restroom. And I think that's a big barrier that's a problem.
What pressures do you feel about grades specifically? Are there any pressures on you about keeping your grades up or getting your grades? Like, I know all these girls they have great grades, so. Just like, but it doesn't, and it doesn't have to be from your school. You can talk about it from a family perspective or even your friend's perspective. Are there some pressures that you get from somebody or just even yourself to have the best grades? Billy, you start.
All right. For pressure-wise, I know I'm really hard on myself about my grade point because I currently have a 3.5, and I just kind of want to go up just a little bit so I can go to like a better college, like Lipscomb. They just recently updated their thing to 3.6, and I was like hurt. but I'm working on it. But from teachers, I think they pressure us to do our work, but that's kind of the point. Because some students are just not doing it, especially in more classes than others. I find students are not doing anything at all, not paying attention, but they don't seem to have any care about their grades, and I'm wondering if there's just a home factor or something else going on. But I feel like some teachers, like Miss Lambert, she's a little hard on grades, or Miss Atkins, they're a little hard on their grades, but they're there and they're gonna help you. Because, for example, Miss Lambert, if you're behind in our accounting class on a unit or something, she'll sit at the computer next to you and go through it and help you figure out what's going on and what's this for. Like, what's a credit, what's a debit, where does it go on this? Is it a liability or is it an asset? I find that extremely helpful. And once it's all done, she'll help us bring our grades back up. And that's the solution I have for that.
Well, I'm kind of on the limit that I have to keep my grades up. With playing sports, it's a requirement, or you'll lose games, even be kicked off. I would say my teachers, which I have a lot of like your senior classes, so I have 3 focuses, which are really your basic hands-on classes, but I also have like your college classes. I'll say for the in-person teachers that I do have at the high school, I personally feel like they give you enough work, but they also have like your studies and your homeworks that back up what they're teaching, and it helps keep your grades at a level that it should be. They also provide like extra credit, or some of your honors classes, they add 3 extra credit points, and your college classes add 5 extra credit points. I don't feel any pressure with grades, because my classes are pretty relaxed, so I'm not having a problem. Like, I'm learning stuff and kind of relaxing at the same time, so I think they're pretty even out.
Okay, so, my grades are decent too. I'm managing.
That's how I was in high school.
Yeah, that's what I tell my dad. No, I'm kidding. I know a lot of, some of the people I'm friends with though, I know they're struggling on a few aspects. It's certain units in classes really, and I know there's a curriculum that the teachers are given to teach, but I think that some of it is just ridiculous, like college level classes for seniors who aren't taking, college classes like on the computer or anything. I just had a really rough time in one of my classes because one of my units that we just had to do, I could barely understand the text we were reading, and I'm more like a hands-on guy, so we were given mainly computer work. My personal finance class, all computer work. That was hard to keep up with just because they don't cater to every kind of student. They cater to the average student, which is good, but sometimes people need more help with certain things, and that was really big, sorry. It's just like, they're kind of just throwing it in the wind, that's what I feel like, and then whatever pasta noodle sticks on the wall, whatever kid comes out with good grades, comes out with good grades. Same with like ACTs and all that. They're really pushing for at least like a 21, that's it, to meet standards, and that's pressuring a lot of kids. I know that because some are good test takers, others have studied and just like can't do it, and then you just have bad days. So it's just, I feel like it's more of a, I guess to put it all like into one thing, it's a pressure problem within, that was the whole point of the question. Like what's the pressures? It is the classes, and I think the way they're being taught as well, like limited support, I think is what's going on.
So what kind of hands-on things could you do in personal finance where you're on the computer all the time? What could you do? Like, what's the solution to personal finance working on a computer all the time?
Oh man, I gotta tell you, I love worksheets. Worksheet guys, so maybe more guided notes instead of just like watching a video and then just, you know, hoping we got all of it from that and fill in the blanks. You know, actually, I'm a big fan of fill in the blanks. That's what my government teacher does. Great, loves it. Just has us fill in half the words, all the ones that are hard to spell too. So it's so fun. Try to spell definitely. I gotta tell you, definitely.
Sorry, I can't spell restaurant either.
I know, me either.
Ooh, another solution for like an individual personal finance. I know, my personal finance teacher, it was like a year or two after COVID, and I had it for the end of the year. And one simulation, or there's two simulations we did. One I found really engaging was each student was given a role, and we were put into families, and then we were given the budget, and then problem to solve with the budget we were in. It was rough. We had 3 kids, one's a baby, and it was me and another girl that were the parents. It was rough. It taught us a lot, like how to manage stuff, and I found that really engaging. Like, well, this is out, which one, and this is out. Which one is more of a necessity per se? And then another simulation we did was Monopoly, which I found really fun because if someone was like, per se, using the wrong terms or doing the wrong thing where it wouldn't add up, we were allowed to call them out, and then they had to give us money, which I found really fun.
Can I add into that?
Yeah.
I would say, I know this probably has nothing to do with the question at all, but like our personal finance classes. Personally, I wasn't given the choice of what year I could take it. I was a freshman taking personal finance, and 14, 15, I don't have a job, I don't have a car, I don't have anything that has to do with insurance, anything like that. So I think it would be another thing with the communication. I think that would be nice to have, because then you can know to take that maybe your junior year, your sophomore year, when you're going into the transition to have jobs, cars, insurance, you know, just bills that you have to pay. And I think that's a real solution that we could have, is like letting them know what needs to be taken. Because like I had like art and like music, and I could have taken that my freshman year and like know kind of what I want to do more, and then add personal finance into it.
So kind of like what Billy was saying, like the relevance of, you know, if there's something that's relevant to being a senior and being a freshman, yeah, because you go in there and you're like right out of middle school, and you know, if you have a job that's mowing grass or something. But when you get into that senior, you know, in that senior role, you're ready to go to college, you're ready to do all these things, and you have to be able to budget your money. So the relevance that Billy was talking about kind of goes in that. And then, so lastly, what are some things that you would like to see more of in the community as a whole? I don't care who goes first this time.
I'll take it.
All right, you go first.
Engagement! Engagement! I want to see more engagement in everything, not just sports. I want to see engagement in more of the little guys too. Band, art, I'm both of those. Sorry, I'm a little biased here on this one. But I saw none of that. There's engagement here right now in this place, but we could use more. You know, always use more engagement from the community. It's great. Love that everybody's here for it. Yay! You could always just use, I guess, once again, all ties into communication. Everybody comes to more stuff. We need more small community support. So just programs, donations, everything. Everything counts in a community like this. So just engagement is insanely needed. I feel like in every aspect, educational, locally, funsies, everything.
Funsies? Does that mean fun things? Or what's funsies?
Whatever you want.
Okay, I'm gonna say fun things. I think that's what it means. Okay, next.
You said that.
All right. For more stuff in the community, to build a little bit off what Abby said, I'm also in band, and I feel like we don't receive as much support as someone say the football team, and I feel like it's a little biased personally, considering our game scores as a lady. We're not bashing, but I feel like some of our other stuff, like I know golf, they had a tournament and they one, I think, state, yeah. And I didn't hear about it until 2 or 3 days later. I didn't hear an announcement until we got all the way back from school, I think. I feel like there needs to be a little bit more communications between certain sports and school. But for community-wise, I think it would be really helpful if we did more community-based events. Like, I know there was a glow-in-the-dark Easter egg hunt, and I think that was really helpful. I think another thing we could do is just more fundraisers or something similar. Like, I know our theater or the center over there needs some repairs, and I know our plays draw a lot. And I feel like if we could help out some of the more, little smaller clubs, could bring more, I'm not sure what the word is, funsies into the community personally.
Okay, I'm gonna kind of back up what they said. I'm not in band, but I did cheer, and I saw like a lot of things that they did do. And I will say, like, with the practices being held, it's like a constant thing, and it's like a sport, and it should be treated like one as well. It should be recognized. I also agree with like your art and stuff like that. Like, I'm not very artsy, but like pottery, we did that my freshman year, and I would like to see that back, or like even just an art center. More so like, I know we're doing something for golf, which is very helpful because they need somewhere to practice. When they're winning all these things, they need somewhere to practice. Our art people that go off and they can like send these things off to like museums and stuff and then take that for like money, they need somewhere to go to practice that besides just like not having the materials at home. Because I know there's a lot of artistic kids, but they don't have the material at home to do things. And I feel like that's something we can see in the community more often. And I personally think the biggest thing is activities for your teenagers. We have child daycare for children very young, like maybe your 6th graders and under, but you also have your older groups for your adults and your elderly, but you have nothing for your teenagers in the middle. We have Lick Creek, and a lot of people substance abuse because they have nothing else to do in those times besides hang out with their friends at Lick Creek or work, and a lot of them are getting unemployed with certain places that, like Taco John's closes down. I know a lot of younger people got fired from it, and what are they gonna do? They can't get another job like just like that. There's not a lot of those places around here, so they go and they turn to something else that can fill that.
To build a little bit off of like community best practice, I think, and to more things for teenagers. I feel like in middle school and the lower grades of high school, and well, all of high school really.
Speak up. Speak up.
I'm speaking up. I feel like that we need more places around here to like do things, to express ourselves, get hobbies or something similar. Like they just did something with pottery. I think the little pottery class here or there could be really nice to kind of engage everyone else. And I know whenever I was middle schoolish, there was a little painting class I took, and I absolutely adored that, but they couldn't post it anymore because not enough people were hearing about it or showing up. And I feel like we need more small little things similar to that, and I think that would be really helpful.
Like your Zumba classes, like if you could get like maybe like even like a Just Dance for your teenagers, because I know a lot of people like that, and it keeps them active at the same time. But like they need something to do besides like just hanging with the parents all the time, doing activities that they don't really want to do. They don't want to hang out with their little brother and sister 24/7, taking them to like a place like this. Like they don't want to just sit with their adults and everything like that. They want to go have fun with their friends, and the adults want their children safe, but we don't have a safe place, like a safe place for them to go hang out at. So it's kind of for both people, and it kind of fails.
Abby wants a skate park.
I want
Abby
a
wants a
portable
skate park.
one everywhere I go.
Everywhere we go. That's right. Anything else that you would tell any of these people, whether school board, county officials, city officials, our athletic association, anything that you would say to them? Last words, Deja.
I would say substance use has to be under control. It's a problem. Sports, school, community, everybody, even adults. Yeah, you're able to have it. You can buy it. You're legal for it. But you rub off on your younger ones, and that takes a toll into your school and your athletics. And when you're good athletics, get caught with that stuff, then the peer pressure and more of that goes into your younger generation who is coming up, and they're all gonna have that, and it's gonna be bad. It's unhealthy. That's it.
I want to say thank you for coming. I really appreciate it. The bullet point, I think you just need more stuff coming out, more communication, more engagement, more things for us to put our frustrations or our time into, so we don't go farther down a rabbit hole or just sitting at home being a couch potato. We want things to do. We want to learn. We want to do other things besides what Asia said. We want to engage ourselves with the community, but we find it really hard to do when there's not a lot of stuff available for us to find out on. Like, for example, I find it hard to just find stuff, like find groups in the community, because I know that we were looking for people to reach out to, but it was a little hard to find groups that we already kind of reached out to.
Oh my.
Yeah.
Wow. Thanks for coming. Really great opportunity once again. And I really hope this continues. I really hope this was a good trial run, because it would be really great to keep doing, to hear from all the young, cool, hip kids in the community. No, it'd be great to hear. Thank you for coming. Thank you to the rest of the school. Thank you guys for coming. We really appreciate it. Just once again, great to be here. Just having a good time.
Okay, I'm gonna put my elected official hat on over here.
Yeah.
Alex, you got any questions, any comments, any feedback?
So you were talking about like things that you would like to see in town for stuff to do, and you had mentioned some of the stuff about for art. What are some of the other things you would like to see, come to town? Like if, you had a blank check, you could have it come to this town, what would you want to come to the town?
I think an arts and crafts center. I know that one church has a roller skate rink and an arcade in it, and I think if they open that would be really cool. Another thing, just maybe a small rec center, similar to what the library does. We'll have like little work days or fun days, but we'll have a building for that, where people can come in, do their work, or do this or that. I think could be really helpful.
I know I find hobbies in other things besides my art, maybe like cooking classes, or maybe even, I get we have sports, but maybe different athletics, like maybe like, I know we have jiu-jitsu, that's pretty cool, in my opinion, maybe some like stuff like that, or like boxing. It's like extra activities.
I'm actually agreeing with them. I like this a lot. I'm liking all these videos. Let's get all of them, one of each please, stacked up right now. No.
Are you trying to get your skate park?
If a skate park happened to come, I wouldn't be really mad. I mean, I think a building which just centered around like community things to do, literally like arts and crafts, like more like crazy sports related stuff. Pickleball? I know that's coming right now. I don't know, but yeah, literally what they were saying. Actually, I really liked it. I really liked all the pondering right here.
So all three of you are talking like we need a building. And that's what that's what this place is for, but we all know, and everybody out there knows, if you've ever tried to rent this place, it's booked, you know, so a building is pretty much what you're talking about. I mean, and then, again, it would be something that you would have to book for, you know, pottery classes or, you know, art type things, even music, but a building is, and as your county commissioner, you know, the mayor has been working on those types of things, you know, with the new grant down there at the Athletic Association area, you know, so he is thinking about those types of things, and it would be beneficial, I think, for adults and children to have that type of building to where, I mean, and it's not about me, but I grew up in the Boys and Girls Club, and it had all of that, and it was one of the, it was the most, that's what formed my teenage years. I was still there when I was 18 years old. I grew up there. I mean, I graduated high school and I was still going there. So a building with that type of thing and some positive adult peer or adult mentor relationships, you know, you know, of course you would have to probably have, you know, those adults volunteering, but, you know, having that building for that type of use would be pretty good. Any other questions?
You had mentioned something about help, and we don't have to talk about this right now, but something to think about, help for the smaller clubs and the groups. Do you guys have like a list of those, or is it something that you could put together? Because like, I was also in band when I was in high school and middle school and elementary school. So like, I understand, you know, like, you know, different groups need different resources, but they don't know who to reach out to sometimes, or they don't know, you know, there's people in the community that would be willing to help. So if you think of some of those groups, please let me know.
I know for sure we can put together a list, but I know some ones is golf, band, cheer. I think softball is a little bit left behind, don't they? They're,
Yeah, I would say like the Connor Run for baseball is a more baseball team. Because I know boys basketball gets recognized and girls, and then football team, that's kind of it.
there's also track.
There's boosters for these kinds of things, but boosters are made up of like,
Volunteers.
Yeah, volunteers.
The parents of the ones that participated that year.
And they can only do so much, you know, after so much time, and I assume there's public, like, access to this kind of, like, information, or maybe there is, on, like, financial-based, like, support for each club, but we don't know anything about that. We just hear what our teachers are saying and what our coaches are saying, and it's like, it's not enough to go off of, you know, if, like, that makes any sense.
Another club to add is color guard and winter guard. The amount of times that people have asked us what we're doing with flags, so it's like, okay.
I would say not even just like our sports teams, but also like our clubs, like even the Cats team, our FCA. I know they've done like Chrysler and Hart, and I know they get it out enough, but it's not enough to the rest of the community. It's just to our school community, but they're trying to get it out farther, but there's like problems and they can't get it out. So I would say like places like FCA, Cats team, and just clubs like that.
What is FCA?
The like Christian athletes. I would say more of your put together organizations, because it's like not something you have to pay for, or you don't really go and compete for either. I'd say like those types of clubs would be the best to go to.
Those type of clubs that don't have competition. Although band has competition, and
We have two.
so, you know, just those smaller organizations, yeah. Anything else?
I'm sure. I wrote everything down. I wrote like 6 pages of notes. No, I'll stop on that.
Any feedback from the audience? Is there any questions, comments? I mean, you know, pat your
I'm
back.
Kyle. Also, I'm the District 6 school board member. I would tell you, great job standing up or just talking in front of people. Sometimes a little bit more research needs to put into certain things. in the aspect of comparing it, right? So that you don't think about it one way, you think about it both ways. So I would say that I would think about peer pressure to your, or pressure in, grades, pressure in sports, pressure in, doing the right thing. It's hard to deal with. There's a lot. As a teenager, you go through a whole lot of different things. But also remember that those teachers are getting graded too. So that's one thing. That's not to say that anybody was wrong on anything. I'm just telling you to think about both multiple ways, right? There were some great things that I hope to talk about with some certain people. So good job, and y'all keep up the good work. It takes a lot of people and from a lot of different places to do it, especially in a small town like this. Money ain't just there. I don't have it. Most people don't have it. So you gotta work, you gotta think outside, you gotta have a lot of people to do it. So think about those things, and y'all are doing a good job.
Anybody else?
I'm a 8th grade middle school teacher, and so you mentioned that, Amy Peterson, by the way. You mentioned that you wanted more opportunities in the, it needed to start in middle school, and I completely 100% agree with you. But like the gentleman just said, money is a big factor for a lot of things. One of the biggest things I've seen in bigger districts are clubs like SAD that don't seem to exist anymore, or just getting students against disruptive decisions. It would be awesome to have seniors coming and working with our 8th graders or working with our 6th graders and making those positive decisions before they get to that point where they're now walking into bathrooms, like you said, and being hit with all of these decisions. Is there, I would love to see this organization help provide grants so that those type of programs can be offered at the school. Teachers are your first line of defense. As you said, kids come to me when there's a problem. They come to Sydney when there's a problem. But oftentimes we don't get that information until the problem's already happened. So if students can be there for each other, and if the city or organizations like this can provide grants for the school to do things like that, and utilize our strong, positive seniors that are making those positive choices and good decisions, I think that would be top of the line, because then it's not just putting it on our shoulders, it's helping you grow our next generation.
Do you want to respond about lunch buddies?
Oh, okay. We have done a lunch buddies program once before, and I'm not sure how the middle schoolers took it. I'm sure they took it well, because a lot of them left with smiles on their faces after eating lunch with some of the seniors, some of the CATS teams. It was more of an individual. We all chose to go, and we would talk to them, and we would give them tips on what you're going to go through high school, and then allow them to know what types of classes they can see. I'm not sure if that would kind of help with that. We do also have I'm not sure what it's called anymore, because there's 3 different kinds, but along with the Criminal Justice Club, we have anti-bullying clubs, but I can see where we need to replace those into middle schools as well.
Yeah, that is one thing that we implemented last year. It was toward the end of the year, and we haven't been able to do it yet. But we did go in, and 5 kids would go at the same time, and they would just sit with the students during their lunch period, and they moved table to table and just talked. And I tried to get them to go to the table that had the children, 1 or 2 students. They were I don't want to say the outcasts, but 1 or 2 students. But they I think they probably went to every table, and each one of them probably went to every table and spoke to those kids. I mean, we had kids that were drawing pictures for them and making things, so I think that the impact was positive. But if we could do that once a month, I mean, I know these guys would be happy to, because they always like to get out of school. But if we could do that once a month, we're happy to do it. That's what this organization is for, is to, you know, to teach other students, especially when it comes to substance use disorder. But like Deja said, she talked to them about different classes that they could take when they get to the high school, and you know, what teachers and what organizations were there and that kind of stuff. So we're certainly happy to continue to do that this year. We haven't been able to, and I can reach out to school officials and see if that's a possibility to do that again. But we're happy to do that, because that's one of the things that they really enjoy doing, is getting out into and working with the kids. You know, like she said before, when we went to the 5th grade, and it was we did both schools. We went to both elementary schools, but we talked with 5th graders. And she's not wrong when she said, you know, I was the one talking, but when I asked the students how many of them had tried to use something, the majority of them raised their hand. And that's an issue, and that's what the CATS team is for. I mean, that's what we're about, you know, we're a substance use disorder prevention team. So we're happy, we would love to be able to do that once a month, if not more often. We would do it as often as we could.
I can add on to that as well. It is kind of hard for us too, because I know that you've contacted the school board a lot, like the directors for the middle school, and it's kind of hard for them to get in contact with us. But I will say, when I went in there, had talked to a lot of kids, but it seemed to be impactful when they got to talk to someone older who had positive intentions, instead of talking to someone who maybe like vaping, smoking, and having that like impact on them. Instead, having someone who's older, who has good experiences and has the opportunity to express and show them what they can do when they get into high school, like letting them know all the opportunities that they can have with clubs, with different classes, like your focus classes, your sports, your bands, all of that. And I think that it made me happy going there, and it really looked like it was a relief for some of the middle schoolers as well.
Billy, you went too, didn't you?
I didn't do lunch parties, but I did do the sticky notes, and I think that really helped a lot, because I have a younger cousin, and she brought me back more like the little sticky notes, and had like the little person I drew. I thought it was really sweet. But I think small things like that do make a little bit of an impact. And then, I'm not sure if it was lunch break today, but you made me put on the cat suit. That was an experience. They found it really funny. It was really engaging. We were all, you know, having a good time. I received a lot of those as a cat. I think more things like that would really help us and like bring us a little bit together. And with the cat associated with that, we're like, the cat's cool. Maybe we don't do that in the bathroom.
Anybody else? Well, I just want to thank you for your time. I thank you for coming and supporting these kids. I know that, you know, I don't even like to talk in front of people, so they did a great job. I forgot to mention that there was cookies and refreshments. You're welcome to those. The Dover Care Center brought all that for us, so you are welcome to take some of that. Welcome to stick around and talk with these kids if you want to. But again, I just appreciate it. If you got a little folder, it's got a lot of our information in it, but if you would do that survey for us and drop it off at that back table, we'd appreciate that. And thank you, girls. I appreciate you. And I really liked having people from, you know, all different walks, like sports and arts, and not weird, sports and arts and music, you know, like so different things. But I appreciate you girls, and you know, I hope that we can do this again. We had, like I said, we had several that were going to come. A competition happened. One's parents got sick. I can't remember what it all was, but they just weren't able to make it, and it wasn't because they didn't want to. It was because they had something come up. So maybe in the future we can do this again. have different questions, and, you know, maybe reach out in the community and see what, you know, what kind of questions we should ask them to get their feedback for. So, thank you so much. I appreciate you, Alex. Appreciate you, Kyle. I didn't even, I've got some elected official back there, should have been sitting up here at this table. But, thanks again. It was